Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Stay-at-Home Bookkeeper Behind the Business. And today we are doing something really awesome. We are pulling back the curtain on something people ask us all the time. What does a bookkeeper actually do day to day?
I mean, if you've ever wondered what life looks like as a stay-at-home or work from anywhere bookkeeper, you are in the right place. We're talking about the freedom that this business gives you and the practical side, like daily, weekly, monthly tasks that bookkeepers will handle.
Yes, and who better to talk about this subject than Tracy Rosenberry, our very own head of education and lead mentor here at the Stay-at-Home Bookkeeper. Tracy, how you doing?
Okay.
Welcome, welcome. Tracy is our one-stop shop for all things bookkeeping knowledge and business ownership expertise. So we're really excited to have you on. So Tracy, for anybody who does not know you yet, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. So I started my bookkeeping business about 10 years ago. I've worked with over 100 different business owners, clients on my own. And now I work with the Stay-at-Home Bookkeeper Academy. I mentor hundreds more bookkeeping business owners. And I just love that I'm able to help people do the same thing that I was able to do and have that flexibility and ability to work from home, which I know today is all about day to day. So you're going to get to hear even more about my why and the day to day task.
I love it. Well, we are so happy having you here. Tracy is just a genius, and you'll get to know her more as we do more of these sessions and chat with her more. But Tracy, let's start with the big picture. What does a typical day look like for a work from home bookkeeper?
Yeah. So, like I said, a big part of why I started my business is I had two elementary school kids at home and I wanted to be there for them. I didn't want to miss anything. And so, like, short answer, it can look however you want it to. It can fit
Love it.
your life. So, my typical day when I first got started, it was having working around my kids' schedule. So, typically while they're at school, I was able to drop them off in the morning and then pick them up in the evening in the afternoon, and I would work in between. And so how I structured my day was like Monday through Wednesday was client work. Thursday was my marketing day, which I love to do networking. I would typically go do a networking meeting at lunchtime. I would usually schedule some one-on-ones before. I'd schedule one before and then I'd schedule one after. And then by the time I was done with my networking, I'd go pick up my kids again. Friday was usually my personal day, so I would go do errands, laundry, grocery shopping, that sort of thing. But the beautiful thing is I had full flexibility. So I was able to adjust. I could go be there for a school event or I could move things around for doctor's appointments. I just had a lot of flexibility with it.
I love it. That is so valuable. And I love having a forever summer Friday, as some businesses like to call it, that you can just kind of do whatever you want on Fridays. That is just awesome. Let's get a little bit into the nitty-gritty. What would you say are the main weekly, daily, weekly, and monthly tasks as a bookkeeper? And how do you organize your time as a bookkeeper with all this freedom and flexibility that you shared?
Yeah, so it's really important to have a schedule, right? Because you do have the flexibility, so it's really a good idea to have a schedule for yourself. Like I said, I organized everything by week, so I had kind of a rhythm to it. I like to work on my clients' books every week, and so I typically would work on certain clients Monday, certain clients Tuesday, certain ones Wednesday, and weekly tasks would consist of, the actual bookkeeping, like categorizing things in QuickBooks, running payroll. If I had clients with payroll, paying bills for my bill pay clients, I would do that once a week. Monthly task is more about following up on client questions. So if there's transactions I didn't know where to categorize them, I would make sure to send those questions to the client. Beginning of the month, collecting statements, reconciling accounts, and closing the books. So really the first week of the month was the busiest. And, I like to have kind of that weekly cadence where I wasn't just, busy all at once, but I know bookkeepers that they will structure things totally different. And they may take the first week of the month and really work hard and work, that whole week. And then they take the rest of the month off. So there's a lot of different, I know, I know.
It really is flexible.
So flexible. It's so
Um,
flexible.
I actually have a twofold question for you, and it's kind of we get asked a lot, like what services do bookkeepers actually offer, or do they usually offer, and are there options to specialize in those particular areas?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, I guess maybe I should start with what is bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is really just like organizing clients' transactions. So you are deciding where they need to be categorized. Was this for office supplies? Was this for payroll? It's more about organizing, categorizing, and then there's reconciling accounts, sending monthly reports so they can see where everything went. How much did I spend on office supplies last month? How much did I spend on payroll? So that's the basic bookkeeping. And a lot of bookkeepers, maybe they just offer the basic bookkeeping and they stop there. But there's so many more things that you can do. Just think about all the needs that clients have with their finances. They may need to send invoices to their clients. So you can help with invoicing, sending those invoices, creating those invoices for them, sending them off, applying the payments. You can help them pay their bills. A lot of clients, they are so busy in the day to day, they might need help just getting their bills paid on time. So you can make sure that you have that, in the calendar, you're paying their bills, making sure it gets done. Running payroll. You can run, their payroll so that their employees get paid. Sales tax filing. If they have a business that needs sales tax filing, you can do that for them too. So it really depends on your client's needs. But yeah, you can absolutely specialize. You can have a niche. You could work with, real estate, e-commerce, restaurants, creatives. Like sky's the limit, really.
Now, you mentioned a little while ago you were talking about flexibility, and so I want to hone into that for just a second because a lot of people assume that if they do this, they're going to be stuck just working 9 to 5 if they start a business. So, how does bookkeeping give people more of that flexibility to where they're not having to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of been the conversation this whole time, right? Flexibility. The deadlines for bookkeeping are usually just monthly. So you might have some other deadlines. We talked about like payroll. We might have to run payroll every week, or we might have to do bill pay more often. But for the most part, you can even a lot of times schedule bills throughout the month. So you really only have to touch that once a month. You can schedule sales tax once a month. So you usually only have to touch that once a month. So like there's just so much flexibility that, like I said, you can spread it out over the month. You can take that first week of the month and just really work hard that week and get everything done. So yeah, it's not limited to 9 to 5. And in fact, a lot of people will start a bookkeeping business. Maybe they already have a full-time job and you
Mhm.
have the flexibility to do that. So maybe you're already working 9 to 5 and you need to fit in what you're doing 5 to 9, or after the kids get home. Maybe you have little ones that are need your time more. Maybe they're not elementary, off at school, but maybe they have little ones that you have at home that you really need to spend the time with during the day, and maybe you're waiting for your spouse to get home to help with childcare. So sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. You can
Yeah.
work on it anytime.
I love
Uh,
that. And I think the other thing too is like even when I was in my case of where I had to go to doctor's appointments, the thing about it is you can do it anywhere. You can take your laptop with you, you can go anywhere. If you have to take your elderly parents to doctor's appointments or yourself to doctor's appointments, or if you just want to go to a beach and work on a beach, you can do that too. That's the part about flexibility that sometimes people don't realize. We're like, you can still work and still have an ocean view. Like, you don't have to be in your four walls home, right? So I think that's an amazing flexibility that we don't talk about enough, that you can do it anywhere. If you want to travel with your kids and go places and during the, summer, and then do that. Just log in whenever you want and work those hours. So that's an amazing flexibility.